Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going to create a simple HTTP server using Actix-Web. So it will be a simple server. We won't be using any database like MySQL or anything. We'll simply be using some in-memory technique to replicate our database. So basically what we will create is, we'll create two API endpoints, like one is to register the user and one is to fetch the users that we have registered. So let's do that. And so most of the time I'll be like quietly coding, but as soon as I complete some features or functionality, I will quickly explain it to you guys. Alright, so let's get started. And first of all, let's add dependencies like Actix-Web and search.json. So let's get started. Alright, so I have added these two dependencies, Actix-Web and search.json. So this is our main file, right? So let's start working from here. I'm making this a function async. This will return unit type result. I have to use this procedural macro provided by Actix-Web. Let's delete this. Create a server instance. I need to fetch this HTTP server from Actix-Web. Alright, I think, yeah, HTTP server and this app as well. Alright, so we have a basic main file that will initiate a server, and I have created a main function async. It will return a result type of unit type. We need to also configure some like route file over here, but let's just create some modules over here. So we'll create some folder, let's say controller, and inside this I will create mode.rs. I will create another folder called routes .rs, and inside controller I will create a user.rs where we will write all our code of adding and fetching the users. So I'm going to declare another file over here, API response.rs. So what I'm going to do in this is, I will create a common response that I'll use across all API endpoints. So this way our code will be written only at a place and we can reuse these responses over here. So let me just create this first. So it will be like this: pub struct API response. So basically it will have three fields, that is status, that will be a 200, 404, 500, and message that will be of type string, and results, because we are going to send our collected users, right? So sometime it will be none and sometime it will be option of type T. So we're gonna use this T over here. And because we are going to pass this file, struct as a response, we need to serialize it as well. So for that we are going to use certgrade. Okay, so for that we need to use this macro serialize, and that will be fetched from this file. Okay, and let's go over here and let's add these modules over here: API response and pub mode user. Now we need to do something, we need to add these in main as well. So we'll say mode routes, mode controller. So let's go over here, pub mode API response user, and in API response we have something called cannot find a derived macro serialize. Alright, we'll tackle this later, but let's first create our routes. So in this I will create a function, let's say call it init. It will take a parameter because we need to create routes over here. We need to pass those routes to our appropriate handlers in controller. So it will take a mutable reference of service config, and so what we're gonna do is cfg dot service, and we'll take a factory, right? So now what it's gonna take is it's going to take a scope, web.scope, and it will take a path, let's say API slash v1. So let me complete this, then I'll explain you what I'm doing right now. So it will take another service. Inside this it will take resource, and here will be our actual path. Add user, let me just use this dot, we're gonna use a route over here, right? And a method web dot let's say post, and we're gonna to use 2, and there will be a handler add user. So this will be our CFG, and let's just come over here. Now let's create a default service as well, web dot to call it not found over here. Alright, so it's saying try adding a return type over here. Let's use semicolon as well over here because it is not returning anything, and if I'm not using any semicolon then it will return a default service. This should work now. Alright, so now I need to use these handlers as well, so I need to create them, not found and add user. So let's go on this file and create those. Pub async and let's create not found first, and it will return something that implement a responder, and let's use a simple HTTP response not found .json. So see, now here I'll use our custom API response that I have created. I will pass it as a string status. I'll say 404 message. I'll use format endpoint not found. Then I'm gonna use results, that will be none for now. Alright, let's create another one for add user. Again it will follow the same thing. Why don't I copy it, because we only need to make it work for right now. Add user, and instead I'm gonna use OK over here. So 200 and user added, and the result is none for now. Alright, add user is here. So now I think I need to add something over here on CERD. So version will be this, and feature is going to be derive. Okay, so I think API response is over here and field is private. Alright, let's make it. So everything in Rust is private by default, so that is why you have to mark public if you want to access in another module and files, right? So that's why I have created a public struct, and all these field I have to mark public as well. Alright, let's understand why this error came. I have already updated this thing. Do I need to close this file? Let's do that. Let's add these things as well. It's getting slowed because I have opened OBS and all in my system. So add user and not found. Alright, so I think we are good for now. Only we are facing this issue over here, that is trade bound API response and all. Alright, let's add something over here. Let's add our route first. So what we are going to do is we are going to use configure over here, and we are going to use this module routes and init. So as you can see, this route file has also been binded, and we are here. We can definitely go from here to here right now, and if I run this program and use API/v1/add user, then it will redirect me to this appropriate controller over here, that is add user. And if anything apart from these routes will be used, then it will go on the default service route, that is not found. So it is very important to use our catch-all route kind of thing. Let me comment it over here. So this catch-all route that I have created, it will act as a guard for these. So if I request anything like that doesn't match any things that I have defined in services over here, it will go on this one. So it will work as a catch-all route. So let's figure out why this is not working. I have added everything over here in toml file as well, version. So sometime what happens is any typo could be feature. Is it feature or features? Let's do a cargo build again. Cargo build. Let's wait for it to build. Alright, build completed. So I think we are not facing any issues right now. So everything is resolved, and yeah. So let me open another terminal over here and we'll try to run this. Let me just make it. Let's say cargo run. So you can see server is up and running. Let's test it by using postman. It is a post request. Let's make HTTP this, right? So we have add user, right? Add user. So as you can see, the server is working fine. It is returning us that we have our custom API response, that is status, message and null. And so let me just show you how catch-all route will work. So if I request any other route from the other than the specified ones, what it does is it will return us this endpoint not found. So even if I do this add user with an extra d, then it will also work like this. So it works as a catch-all route. So as you can see, it is working fine now. And let's implement our main feature, that is we need to use any data structure. Probably we'll use a hash map to store our users in memory, and then we'll create a route that will return us all those users. So let's do that. Let's create inside this as well. Let's start like designing our data structure. So what we'll use, so let's start by creating a user struct. So it has an id and a name and a email, right? Let's do another thing over here, user list. So what it does is it will have let's say users, and we are going to use mutex just to be thread safe, and it will provide us the mutable thread safe reference to anything that we have that we'll use inside this. And we'll use hash map as a collection, u32 and string. Alrighty, do I need to no, this one, yes, I need to do this because we'll also use this struct user as a payload. So we'll pass this from the postman. So that is why we need to make it deserialize and serialize. Alright, so user list is never constructed, and we are going to use this on the API response where we will add something over here, right? So let's do that. Let's go on users and let's make some changes over here. So because Actix-Web followed a pattern where you need to pass everything as a parameter, right? There is no global variable kind of thing that is used to like make it more safe and like to prevent the race conditions. So it is a recommended way to use every like the in-memory data structure that we have created that gonna serve as a table for us. We are going to pass it as a parameter. So let's do that, follow the pattern, and we gonna do is we are going to use this and user list. Let's do that. And because we are adding as a this is a post request, then we are also expecting a data that we are going to add it, right? So a payload, and payload will be of course JSON, Actix-Web JSON, and it will be of type user. All right, now let's see how it goes. First of all, let's see whether we are receiving valid thing or not. Let's check payload over here. Let me add a debug trait as well. All right, and are we any user list field this struct is never read? Okay, no problem. All right, so payload, and let's make it we need to pass a body raw JSON. Let's make it a user, like let's say ID 1, name let's say dark lord, and email darkgalaxy@yopmail.com. all right, let's do that. It is saying that request is not configured correctly. Why? Because we are using these things, right? So we are passing that, then we need to configure that in main file as well, our main.rs file. So let's do that. And we need to create the data that we are going to pass, and then we need to move it inside this HTTP server's new instance. Currently this closure, we need to use a keyword called move over here, and then on here we are going to use app data. Then we are going to do something like data.clone. Alright, so for that we need to create data as well. So we need to define data, and the data should replicate our tables, right? So if we were using any SQL connectivity or database connectivity, then we need to create a pool over here, and that pool is going need to be passed over here. Like wherever we have written data.clone, we need to write something like that pool.clone, and that pool we have to create over here. So but for now we are not using any database connectivity. We are going to create our in-memory data structure that we have created, so it should replicate that thing. So how do we do that? We have our database, this our in-memory structure like this. So we have a user list, and inside this we have a mutex. So we need to initiate these things like new mutex and new hash map, right? So let's do that. Main.rs, we need to use this data from Actix-Web new. We need to initiate a new thing. Now we need to pass an state over here. That state will be our in-memory structure that we have created, right? So how it will go is we have created our user list, right? So user list, and it is a struct that has users right? And that users is a mutex, and what it does is it will take a hash map. So we need to initiate all these things, right? Yeah, so as you can see, we have created our data, and this data has to be the state that we want to pass across all our routes, right? So what we have to do is, when we are building something, is we need to use any database connectivity over here. So instead of this user list, we will create and use some database connectivity, the pool that we say, right? And we need to pass that pool across all our controllers so that we can use that database on across all our controllers. Like we need to add something, then all the CRUD operation that we have to do. But for now, our database is this, our in-memory structure that we have created. So that is why we have used this thing over here. Let's head over to user and let's see how it goes now. Let me just do this, cargo run. Let's run this. So as you can see, user added, and in our console we can see our JSON data that we have passed. Now what we need to do is we need to push this thing in. So let's move on to the next step, where we will users is equal to, so in this step we will add all our user in our data structure. So what we are going to do is, we have our data, right? Data dot users dot log. In order to access that, let's access it, unwrap, and we need to make it mutable because we are going to mutate this users, right? So users is now having a hash map. So users dot insert a key, that is payload dot id, and a value payload dot into inner. So it says mismatch type expected string. Let's see user list. This is not bi, it will be user. So yeah, so as you can see, this data has been used, this payload has been used, and let's run our project again and let's see if there is any error. So as you can see, let us test it out. Now we will add these things, right? Okay, user added. Now this add these things as well, another user and another user at your main. Let's do this as well. All right, so it is working. Now let's write an endpoint to fetch these users. So it will be simple fn, let's say fetch users, and fetch users, we are going to use this data because data, and it will be user list. All right, it will return something that will implement a responder trait, and let's copy this. Okay, and we are going to write users fetched, and we'll write something over here that will fetch all our users. So what we are going to do is, let's say that users is equal to data dot users dot log dot unwrap. So let's create another list over here. We will pass this list as a API response, and what we are doing over here is, we are going to collect all these values into a vector and pass it as a response. So over here we can do some user list, and we are going to remove this. So yeah, as you can see, fetch users is haven't used. Let's copy this because we need to create an handler for this in our route, right? Let's go and create another route over here. Let's format it first, otherwise we will have a problem. So dot service, and let me add a comma over here first. So this is for route and this is for service. Yeah, dot service resource, and we'll use something called fetch users, and this route, it will be of course a get request, right? Dot to, and the handle will be fetch users. All right, so we have a syntax error, service. All right, so as you can see, we have created two routes over here, that is add user and fetch users. And fetch user, what it does is, it will return all our users that we have added till now. So we are maintaining an in-memory data structure, and yeah, I think we are good to go. Let's run our server again, cargo run, and let's see how it goes. All right, first of all, let's add our users. So we are adding this user. Let's make Control Z. So we have 2 users now, and let's another one, 3, adding Darth Vader, Darth V. All right, so as you can see, we have added 3 users now, and let's fetch these users. All right, method not allowed. We should be using a get request. So yeah, As you can see, these all things that we have added over here, these 3 users. Let me just switch it to add users, and let me show you by adding one more. Add user. Let me just add another one with the 15 ID and Vipin, and let me add this. Now let me fetch it again. So as you can see, 15. So data structure is working perfectly fine. It's storing the data, and it is returning us all the users that we have stored. So now this in-memory technique should not be like preferred, because as soon as I close the server, this thing will vanish, right? So we should definitely we should use some persistence memory techniques like database and all. Let me just give you a quick recap what we have done. We have created a server, and we have created this data that we are going to pass across all our routes. So we need to clone it. We need to use a move keyword over here, and in the app.new we will use a function called app data and pass a clone of a pool that we have created, right? So this data will be shared across all the handlers and routes. So also we have added configured a route file over here, as you can see, and here we have created a scope that all the APIs that have a common prefix will fall under these scopes. We have also created a catch-all route over here. What it does is, if anything doesn't matches these above specified route, it will fall under this catch-all route function. So it will simply say not found, right? So on the fetch users, what I did, let me just show you first the add users, and I have created in-memory data structure. As you can see, it's called users list. Let me just show you. So I'm using a mutex over here just to be thread safe, and this mutex will hold a hash map. This hash map is actually our users list, right? So, and the key is u32, and this key that I'm using is the users ID. This way the key will be unique, right? So this way I'm adding the users, and while fetching the users, I'm just collecting into a vector and sending it back as a response. So there you have it, guys, a simple HTTP server. And definitely few things that need to be improved over here is these things. So first of all, you can refactor this code. I will push this code on GitHub and share you the link in the description, and you can refactor this code. Use these all the important things like these port numbers and this home address or any server address. You can put those in env file. You need to use .env crate over here. You can simply use instead of println, you can use some logging crates. And what all we can do is we haven't created any middlewares, right? So we will do that in later video. We can definitely improve this thing, and in the next video we are going to implement a login API. I will create a jot token, and we will send that token across our API responses so that a user on front end can store those tokens. So till then, stay happy, Merry Christmas, and see you on the next one.